Well, here we go. Moving on in Module 5. So we've done some review with percents, and now we're going to dive in to this first section. So let's take a look here. Our essential question today is, how do I use percents to describe how things change? And we're going to focus specifically on percents that increase and percents of decrease as we go along here. So as you have that essential question, then let's just review a little bit about what each of these means. Okay, percent is a way to compare or use a ratio out of 100. So it's comparing a number out of 100. Okay, we use this symbol, percent, and really that's a math operation. We talked about this a little bit before. That means divided by 100. So if I say something like 31%, that is the same as writing 31 divided by 100, like that. We talked about, remember, as a decimal, that's 31/100ths that way. Oh, I can't squeeze that in. Sorry. So now really what we want to focus on is when I'm describing how something increases, how do I find the percent that it increases? If something decreases, how do I describe that change as a percent as a decrease? So let's just get this down. A percent increase is a percent, okay? And we calculate it in this way. We make a ratio and we say, how much did it change? Or maybe I should just write the difference. Let me change that, okay? So instead of writing, here we go. So instead of writing how much something changed, I'm going to ask you to find the difference from the start. Oh man, I can't spell. Find the difference and then divide by what the original amount was. Okay, how much did it change and where was I starting from? Okay, and in this case, a percent of increase is something that went up. So here's an example. If I started with, I don't know, started with $50 and then, I don't know, something wonderful happened and I ended up increasing and I went to $57. Okay. So here's my start. This is my original. And here's my ending value. How much did I change? Well, I went from 50 to 57. So if I take those two and subtract, my difference is 7. I started with $50. 7 over 50, you want to turn that into a percent. What number out of 100? Well, there are a variety of ways to do that, so you figure out which way you're comfortable with. Are you into using proportions and solving this as a cross product? Are you willing to just say, oh, 50 to 100, I can find the equivalent fraction and call it 14% there? Or you can always use your handy dandy calculator, plug in the fraction 7/50ths, and then go ahead and turn that into a percent. And you get 14%. Percent decrease. So let's take a look at what that means. Guess what? This is the same thing. It's a percent again, and you're going to calculate what is the difference between my starting and my ending values. Put that as a ratio over the original amount, and you're going to say, all right, how much did I change from my start? And figure out the percent. Okay, so we're going to calculate. So for example, let's just say I'm back to my $50. And then I went shopping. Darn, I had to stop at the grocery store and get some things. And let's say I went from $50 and now all of a sudden I'm at $23 or something like that. Okay, so what happened here? What is the difference between these two? I spent, or I used, or I decreased $27. Some people like to think about it as a negative value, so then you get a negative percent. We just tend to use the words decrease or increase. So some textbooks might refer to it as a negative. So that was my habit there. All right, so I went down 27. My starting value was 50. Now go ahead and convert this into a percent by your preferred method, and you get 54%, and that was a decrease. So we are going to do a whole bunch of examples here in your notes. Get this handy along with something to write with. Amber got a raise. Good for you, Amber. Her hourly wage increased from $8 to $9.50. Okay, so I started at 8 and you ended at 9.50. Okay. What was the percent of her increase? It's an increase. So from 8 to 9.50, what's the difference? $1.50. Where did she start? 8. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm really glad right now that I have a device to help me out because frankly, it's Friday afternoon for me and I am kind of tired and I think my brain is a little bit exhausted. So I'm going to calculate this. Some people like to just divide and I get a decimal. And then you can either multiply by 100 to turn it into a percent, move it 2 decimal places. That's multiplying by 100. This crazy calculator does all the work for you, which is absolutely ridiculous, but it gives you 18 and 3/4%, 18.75. Cool. Look at the next one. Let's go. I suppose I should say increase, so I'll abbreviate. Oh, what does 100% increase mean? Okay, so let's say I'm back to my $50. I must be stuck on this. Okay, here's my start, my original. I am going to increase by 100%. What's 100% of 50? 50. So now what's my new total? You'd have to add these two together. I started with this. I'm increasing by this much money. Now I have $100. Ho-ho! In a sense, when you increase by 100%, you're doubling. I like that. They should have a machine like that I could use for money. Might work on that. Look at the next one. The number of people that signed up for a bus trip increased from 32 to 45. Now, I don't know about you, but I do like to write a little bit down here so I can see it. Started at 32, increased to 45. Round to the nearest percent as we calculate the percent of increase. So let's see, I increased 13. I started at 32. And again, if you feel more comfortable with me writing the percent proportion that way, and then you may cross multiply and solve the equation that you get. 13 times 100 is 1,300. 32 times x is 32x. I want to figure out what that x value is, so you have to divide, excuse me, by 32. All right, let's go to town. I get something like 40 and 625 thousandths percent. By the way, that's 5/8. 40. So that's not quite half, right? That makes sense. 13 over 32. It's a little more than a third. Okay. Let's keep going. David moved from a house that is 89 miles away from his workplace. So that's my start. To a house, and here's work, let's say. Work is there. And now he's only 51 miles away. That's still a horrible commute. Wow. I'm not going to complain over my 3 miles. Goodness sakes. All right, so here's my start. Here's my end, or my original and my ending, or my final. So this is a decrease. Okay. I'm going from 89 to 51. So first of all, find the difference. Okay, 38. Put that in a ratio with the starting number. And here you go. Now find the percent. 38 divided by 89 and turn that into a percent. Ooh, that's interesting. 42. And then I get a very long decimal. 6966292, and it keeps going. So I think we'll round this. 42 point, I'd round that to say 7. There's the percent. Hey, getting the hang of this now. Scooter. We're going to buy a scooter. It started, at $65.50. Kind of a weird price. Now it's on sale. Sweet. $52.40. So I started here, ended there. What is the percent of the decrease? So we got to find the decrease. How much was it? This minus that. When you get that value, that's what our numerator is going to be. I suppose I could have done this in my head, huh? I don't like to do math horizontally. Ugh. $13.10. That's how much I'm getting off. Then I have $65.50, and you need to turn this into a percent. Now, who would have thought that that nasty decimal stuff is going to work out to be nice? But it actually, in simplest form, is 1/5, which is 20%. Yes. Next one. You're cruising. Oh, wait. This is a little different now. So I'm reading this. A shoe sales associate earned $300 in August. So here's August. We get $300. Okay. In September, here's September, best month ever, she earned 8% more than she did in August. So how much did she earn in September? Oh, do we have enough information here? I need to add some sort of amount that's the increase. And then I'm going to get my total amount in September. And I know it's whatever 300 plus whatever this increase is. And it says it's 8%. So here's what we have to do. This time I have the percent. I'm not finding it. So figure out what 8% of 300 is. Now, as a reminder to you, because I know everybody's got their way of doing things, okay? You may want, let me move this out of the way a little bit, make more room. You may want to do this proportion way. If you have the percent, that's the number out of 100. And that has to be what number out of 300? What is this? Or some of you might prefer just doing this algebraically and say 8% times 300 is going to be the amount of the increase right there. All right, well, when you go ahead and cross multiply and solve, you end up taking 2400 as 100x. And when you solve, you should get exactly 24. And over here, if you plug this in, and in my day, we changed the percent into a decimal and then multiplied, and you still get 24. Hey, whichever way works for you, do it. So 8% of 300 is $24. That isn't what she made in September, silly. That's her increase. So in September, she made $324 total. All right. So sometimes on the problems that you're going to work on today, sometimes you're looking for the percent. Sometimes they give you the percent. And so now you have to be able to apply that for all these changes. All right, here we go. This one, find the percent. Okay, 14 to 40. This is your start. This is your end. This is your original right here. So even before I go too far, first thing is 14 is my denominator because that was my original. I know that going from 14 to 40 is an increase. That's kind of obvious. All right, and now how much of a difference is there from 14 to 40? Well, to me, that gives me 26. Now, stop. 26 over 14 is more than 1. In fact, it's almost 2. That tells me you're going to get a huge percent here. Okay? It's more than 100%. In fact, it's almost 200%. Go ahead and do the math and change 26/14 into a percent. This thing, I'm going to round it because I get 185 and 0.7%. See? It's almost 200%. Yep. All right, next one. 72 down to 50. That's a decrease. I start at 72. I drop to 50. That went down 22. My original or starting value is 72. On your mark, get set, go. This one is 30 and 0.5 repeating percent. Some people might want to just, oh, it said round to the nearest percent. My bad. So 186%. This would be 31%. Oh, now these are going the other way. All right, $12 is my start. It said find the new amount given the original. So that's my original. I'm going to add, because it says increase, I have to add something here. And then I'm going to get my new amount. This is the increase. What you have to do here is take 20% times $12. There you go. I get $2.40, I think, which gives me a new total of $14.40. Number 4, this is, I start with this original 36 grams. I am going to have a 45% decrease. So I'm going to subtract some amount of the decrease to get me my new amount. All right, so 45%, I'm going to have to take 45% times 36. That's almost half. So in my head, before I even grabbed this thing, thinking half would be exactly 18. So this can be a little less than 18, 45%. And it is, it's 16 and 2/10. Subtract 19.8 grams. There you go. These last two, go ahead, pause the video and try them on your own, and then start me back up and let's see if you got the correct answer. 48 eggs today, 30% less tomorrow. So we're going to subtract 30% of that, and that'll give me my tomorrow amount. So figure out what 30% of 48 is. Oh, now this is kind of funny. 30% of 48 is 14.4. We're going to talk about this in a second. Subtract so that you find out what it is. So if you take that 48 and subtract 14.4, we get 33.6. Stop. We're talking about eggs. Can you have 0.6 of an egg? That does not make sense. So you're going to have to decide here how many eggs are expected. I guess I would round up and say 34 eggs. Okay, because that 0.6, yeah. Okay, watch your situation. If it's a word problem, then you have actual units or something, and see if your value makes sense according to the problem. All right, last one. Priscilla reads 10 pages in her book each night. She wants to increase the number of pages by 30%. All right, so 10 is our starting. We're going to increase. That means we're going to add an amount on here. And our increase specifically is going to be 30%. So we have to figure out what 30% times 10 is. We're going to add that to 10, and then this will be my new number. Okay, 30% times 10, it's 3. So her new amount will be 13 pages. All right, after you start doing enough of these and it starts becoming solid in your head and you are like, yeah, I got it, go to town on your assignment. Check Schoology. It is in the textbook. As always, good luck and may the force be with you.